大家好，欢迎收听唱歌学中文。Hi everybody, welcome to Sing and Learn Chinese. Today we're going over the song Tong Nian by Luo Ta Yo. He was a Taiwanese folk rock pop singer back in the 1980s. Well, that was the period when he was the most popular, and he's well known for his kind of edgy songs about social and political commentary as well as folk subjects. And this particular song, Tong Nian, means childhood. So he's singing about his experience of childhood. If you are ever curious about what Taiwanese childhood was like back in the 80s, then this is it. Although I suppose his childhood was probably before the 80s, and then he's just singing about it in the 80s. Anyways, all right, let's take a look at the lyrics. First line, 池塘边的榕树上. So 池塘 is the pond, 边 is by, next to, and then 榕树 is the banyan tree, and 上 is on the banyan tree next to the pond. Then we have 知了在深深叫着夏天. So 知了 means cicada. It's the older form of the word. And then 深深 is over and over again. 叫着 is calling to 夏天, the summer. Then we have 操场边的秋千上. So this is a similar grammatical pattern that we've seen in the first line, right? So instead of 池塘边, instead of next to the pool, now we have 操场边, which is the playground. So next to the playground, or to the side of the playground. 秋千 is the swing set. 上 is on the swings. 只有蝴蝶停在上面. So 只有 means there is only 蝴蝶 butterflies 停在 stopping on 上面 on top. So there are only butterflies stopping on top of the swing set next to the playground. Then 黑板上老师的粉笔. 黑板 is the blackboard. 上 means on or on top of or above, but in this case it's on. So on the blackboard. 老师 means the teacher, and then 粉笔 is chalk. So 笔 refers to writing utensils, and then 粉 is chalk or powder. So powdered writing utensil, aka chalk. 还在拼命叽叽喳喳写个不停. So 还在 still, so the teacher is still. 拼命 is using all of one's effort frantically. 拼命 is kind of like staking your life on it to an extreme degree almost. But anyways, 叽叽喳喳 is a sound effect. It's like an onomatopoeia. It just means making noises. So, when you're writing on a blackboard with chalk, it makes these kind of squeaking, scratching noises. So that's kind of what that's mimicking. Then we have 写, which means to write. And then 个不停, 写个不停 is kind of, it's not an idiom, but it's kind of a set phrase. So 吃个不停, 吃 means to eat. 吃个不停 is you can't stop eating. You just keep eating and eating. 写个不停 means you're writing and writing and you're not stopping. 玩个不停, 玩 means to play. So 玩个不停 is like you're playing and playing without stopping. So non-stop playing. So writing, non-stop. Then we have 等待着下课, 等待着放学, 等待游戏的童年. Okay, so 等待 is to wait. 下课 means the release of the class to get out of class. Classes end. And then 放学 is for school to finish, which is kind of a synonym, I suppose. End of class, end of school. And then 游戏 means game. And then 的童年, so 童年 means childhood. So he's talking about, this is the childhood. He's describing a childhood where they're constantly waiting for class to end, for school to finish, and for the games to begin. Which, from a little boy's point of view, that's pretty accurate. Okay, then we have 福利社里面什么都有. 福利社 is the school convenience store. 福利 means like benefit or something like that. And then 社 is often used for society or group organization. So, but in this case, when they put it all together, they call it this. 福利社 is a school convenience store. And then 里面 is inside. 什么 means whatever or what. 都有, all, and then 有 is to have or to be, exist. So 什么都有 means it has everything. The school convenience store has everything inside. 就是口袋里没有半毛钱. 就是 it's just that. 口袋 is a pocket. 里 is inside. Just that in the pocket, in my pocket. So the my is understood. 没有 means there isn't. 半毛钱, half a mao of 钱. So half a mao of money. Mao is one of the counters for money. So like in America we use dollars. In Japanese currency they use yen, and so on and so forth. In Taiwan they will say 一毛钱, 两毛钱. So mao is a unit of currency. And then 半 means half. So he's basically saying, in my pocket I don't even have half a unit of money, which is a bit of a, not an exaggeration, it's just kind of a colloquialism. If you say, well, 没有半毛钱, it means I have nothing, I have no money. Okay, and then we have 诸葛四郎和魔鬼党. So this is referring to cartoon characters, I believe. These are fictional characters, comic characters. And he says, this is the first half of the sentence. The second half is 到底谁抢到那支宝剑? So 到底 means in the end, 谁 who, 抢到 means grabbed, snatched, stole, won, took, and then 那支 that, and then 支 is a measure word for 宝剑, which is sword. 宝 means a treasure, so and 剑 means sword. So that precious sword. So I'm guessing this comic, which I haven't read, has something to do with two sides fighting over a sword. So he's saying, how did that comic end? And then 隔壁班的那个女孩. 隔壁 means neighboring or next door. And then 班 is class. And then 那个 means that. 女孩 is girl. So that girl in the next door class. 怎么还没经过我的窗前? 怎么 means how or why. 还 means still, may, haven't, still has not. 经过 means to go by, to pass by. 我的 my 窗 is window and 前 is in front of the window. So how come the girl from the next door class hasn't passed by my window yet? And again, this is very illustrative of what a boy going to school in Taiwan back in the before 80s probably was going through, like there's probably a cute girl in the class next door, and one of the highlights of his days is seeing her walk by the window, and he's like, why hasn't she walked by the window yet? All right, next. 嘴里的零食，手里的漫画，心里初恋的童年. Okay, so 嘴里means inside of the mouth, and 零食 are snacks. So the snacks that I'm eating, so the snacks that are in my mouth. 手里 means inside of the hand, 手 is hand, and then 漫画 is mangas or comics. 心里 is inside of the heart, and then 初恋 is first love, 童年 is childhood again. So this follows the previous pattern. He has some three things, and then something, 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 的童年. So the childhood that incorporated, that had all of these things in it. So snacks in the mouth, comics in the hand, and first love in the heart. Then we have 总是要等到睡觉前. 总是 means it always ends up being, it always has to be this way. 要 is have to, and then 等到 is wait until. 睡觉 means to sleep. 前 means before. So 前 means in front or before. So the I is understood. I always wait until right before I go to sleep, and then 才知道功课只做了一点点, which I don't know if other students out there have had this experience, but 才 means then, 知道 to know or realize. 功课 is homework, 只 means only, 做 is to do, 做了 is past tense, the 了 makes it a completed action. 只做了一点点 means a little bit. So it's only when you have gotten to right before you need to go to sleep that you realize, oh shoot, I've only done a little of my homework. I haven't finished, in other words, there's more homework to do. Then we have 总是要等到考试以后. So again, 总是要等到, we've seen that before. 总是 always have to wait until, 等到. 考试 is a test, 以后, that's after the test. So I understood, or we, whatever, always wait until after the test, and then 才知道该念的书都没有念. Okay, so 才知道 is then you realize, then I realize, or we realize. 该 means should, 念的书. So the 书 means book, but in this case it's more a broad category of the academic information. So the things that you should have studied, 念 is to study, 都没有念. All of it you haven't studied, or I or we haven't studied. The pronoun is, you can decide which one goes there. But basically he's like, I guess maybe the singer was a bit of a lackadaisical student, or maybe he knew a lot of people who were. And so he's incorporating that into his song. So he's saying, we, whatever, always end up waiting until right before bedtime. Then we realize, oh shoot, I still have homework to do. And then we always end up waiting until after the test before we realize, oh darn, all the things that I should have learned, I didn't learn. So moving on. 一寸光阴一寸金. So 一寸 means 1 inch, and then 光阴, 光 means light, 阴 means shadow. So light and shadow is referring to the passage of time, because, day and night. Then 金 means gold. So an inch of time, an inch of gold. And then we see how it's put together. 老师说过. 老师 is the teacher. 说过 means has said before. 过 means has passed. Spoken The thing that the teacher has spoken has already passed, or the time when they spoke the thing is in the past. It's a little tricky to describe this, but anyways, basically the teacher has said before, 寸金难买寸光阴. So 寸金 means an inch of gold, 难买 difficult to buy or impossible to buy, 寸光阴 an inch of time. So an inch of gold can't buy an inch of time. So there you go. Then we have 一天又一天,一年又一年. So one day is 一天, and then 一年 is 1 year, and then 又 means again or more. So day after day, year after year. Then 迷迷糊糊的童年. So 迷迷糊糊 means like kind of foggy, not very clear. It's like when you are half asleep or kind of drowsy, you're not completely awake. That's what 迷迷糊糊 means. And then 童年 is childhood. So he's saying my childhood or our childhood, somebody, pronouns not given, was a little, it's foggy by now. You're an adult looking back on your past. A lot of things are not that clear anymore. So 没有人知道为什么. 没有人 means nobody. 人 is person or people. 没有 means there aren't. There is none. There is no one. 知道 means to know. 为什么 why? Nobody knows why. 太阳总下到山的那一边. 太阳 is the sun. 总 means always ends up, always. 下 means to descend, go down. 下到山 is the mountain or hills. 的那一边means that side. So nobody knows why the sun always sets on that side of the hill or the mountain. 没有人能够告诉我. 没有人 nobody. 能够 is able to. 告诉我 tell me. 我 is me. 告诉 is tell. 山里面有没有住着神仙? So in the mountains, 有没有 is there or is there not? 住着 living. 神仙 are immortals. Sometimes people translate this as gods or fairies. It's not. It's like the Eastern concept of gods. So probably divine beings. Maybe that's the closest translation. Fairies. A lot of people say fairies, but the problem is Eastern fairies are not the same thing as Western fairies. Like, I think maybe because of the influence of Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, people tend to think of fairies as these cute little floaty sprite link things. But in Chinese, the idea of a xian is like immortal beings. They're the same size as humans. They've got these flowing, beautiful clothes, and they have lots of powers, and they live thousands of years and so on. Anyways, so it's a little tricky to translate that. But 山里面有没有住着神仙? So are there divine immortals living in the mountains or not? And then 多少的日子里总是一个人面对着天空发呆. Okay, that's a long one. So 多少 is how much. 多 means more. 少 means less, more or less. A lot or a little. So many. There have been so many. 日子 is days. 里 is in the days. How many days has there been? Where 总是 there always ends up being always. 一个人 one person, alone. So he's talking about himself. I alone. 面对 is facing. 面对着. 天空 is the sky, and then 发呆 is to not think about anything, to daydream. So he's like, 多少的日子里. So how many of these days in the past, I always ended up being alone, looking at the sky, daydreaming, or kind of thinking about nothing. And then 就这么好奇, 就这么幻想, 就 just 这么 in this way or just like this. 好奇 is curious, and then 就这么幻想 is to fantasize, fantasy. Yeah, to fantasize. Being curious, fantasizing, that's what kids do, right? And then 这么孤单的童年. 这么 means so, or in such a way, so much so. 孤单 means lonely, and 童年 is childhood. So he had a lonely childhood, it sounds like. 阳光下蜻蜓飞过来. So 阳光 is the sunlight. Yang is short for 太阳, which is the sun. 光 is light. 下 means underneath or below, in the sunlight, under the sunlight. 蜻蜓 are dragonflies, and 飞 is to fly. 过来 is to come over. So the dragonflies fly over here under the sunlight. And then 一片片绿油油的稻田, 水彩蜡笔和万花筒. Okay, so that's actually kind of two ideas. So 一片片绿油油的稻田. 稻田 are rice fields, which is very common in Taiwan. And then 一片片 means one patch after another, patch after patch. And then 绿油油 is a very rich, lush green. 绿 is the color green, and then 油 refers to oil. I think of like oil painting, oil colors, this kind of oily green, not in an ugly way, but just in a lush way. And then 水彩 is watercolors, 蜡笔 are crayons, 和万花筒 are kaleidoscopes. So watercolors, crayons, and kaleidoscopes, ... 画不出天边那一条彩虹. So 画不出 means cannot draw, cannot portray accurately. 画 is to draw or paint, and then 不出 means cannot come out. So even if you use kaleidoscopes and crayons and watercolors, you cannot accurately depict 天边, the edge of the sky, 那一条, that strip of 彩虹, rainbow. So those three things that he mentioned, watercolor, crayons, and kaleidoscopes, cannot accurately depict the beauty of the rainbow at the edge of the sky. And then 什么时候才能像高年级的同学? So 什么时候 means what time, when. 什么 literally means what, and 时候 is time period. So at what time, when, 才能, then we'll be able to. 像 means to be like, 高年级. So upper graders, the upperclassmen, the 同学 are classmates. Actually, 同学 literally means same school. 同 means same, and then 学 means school. So 同学 is not just your classmates, it's actually your schoolmates. Which makes sense because he's talking about being an underclassman looking up to the upperclassmen. He's probably like elementary school, who knows, 4th grade, 5th grade. I don't know. When do you start having crushes on girls? Probably around that time, right? And then he's looking at the middle schoolers and the high schoolers and going like, wow, when will I be like them, the upperclassmen? 有长成熟与长大的脸. So 有 means to have, 长成熟 means to grow mature. 成熟 is mature, and then 与 means and. 长大 means to grow up, grown up, and then 脸 is face. So he's looking at the upperclassmen in his school and going, when will I grow up and have, that maturity in my face like they do? And then 盼望着假期, 盼望着明天, 盼望长大的童年. Okay, so this is another pattern we've seen before where he does 3 things and then he ends it with the 童年. So it's a childhood where 盼望着假期, where I was looking forward to or hoping for. 盼望, that's what that means. And then 假期 is holidays. And then 盼望着明天, looking forward to, 明天 is tomorrow. And then 盼望, again, hoping for, looking forward to, 长大的, so growing up. So the childhood in which I was looking forward to holidays or, breaks from school. I was looking forward to tomorrows. I was looking forward to growing up. That was childhood. And then O just means O. they write it like this. This character is a 我, which is the character for me. But then to the left, you have a 口, which is a radical that talks about anything related to mouth, speech, things like that. So that means that's pronounced O. One of the ways that you can write O in Chinese. And then 一天又一天, a day after day, 一年又一年, year after year. We've seen this before as well. And then 盼望长大的童年. So this is a repeat. 盼望 is to hope for or look forward to. 长大的, growing up. And then 童年, childhood. The childhood in which I was hoping for, looking forward to, growing up. That is what the in this line does. And that's it. There you have it. This was 童年 by Luo Ta Yo. And it's basically describing childhood. And there are a lot of useful little common phrases and not so common words that you should have picked up in this song, and you can always go back and review it and add this to your vocabulary list or your SRS deck or whatever you use to learn Chinese. Hopefully that was helpful and interesting. Taught you a little bit about the culture, perhaps, of a childhood in Taiwan in the pre-1980s. If you have a song that you would like to see explained, the lyrics broken down, feel free to contact me and give me your suggestions. I welcome them all. And until we sing again, 再见.